to their lawful owners. Well, the problem is this. They took, I forget what the number was, thousands of weapons, and they haven't returned but a couple hundred of them because nobody can prove that's my gun. You know, I have guns at the house. If you ask me to prove it's mine, I bought them here, I bought them from friends. You know, there's no paperwork that goes with them. There's no gun registration, which I'm totally against. But to cut to the point, no, I would never do that. That's the absolute wrong thing to do. And what happened during that time as well was President Bush, I think through John Warner, passed a bill to give the government more control, and then they realized what a bad idea that was, and in '06 they rescinded that law. The Supreme Court has said you absolutely can't do that. So, you know, there's good case law already that says that can't happen again, and there's no way I would ever let that happen.
Okay, thank you. Would you ever consider supporting a gun registry, which you just kind of answered that? But.
No, there's no reason for it. There's absolutely no reason for it. It doesn't prevent crime. It doesn't save lives. It's nothing more than an opportunity to count the guns out there. And they don't count them from bad guys. They count them from good people, people who comply with the law. So there's no way.
Okay. Number 4, will you support strong illegal immigration enforcement to include giving police officers the power to arrest illegals regardless of whether they committed a violent crime or regardless of whether they broke an additional law besides illegal entry into the country?
Yes, I would. And the reason is there's a system in place called E-Verify, and it, from what I understand, works well. The problem's not with local government. The problem's with the federal government. We have taken people in custody before to the county jail. He's an illegal. They don't want nothing to do with him. They won't come and get him. They're not holding up their end of the bargain here. There's lots of reasons. I could go on and on about federal government. I got 2 minutes. I need about 2 hours to talk about the federal government.
Yeah.
So yes, I would. There's a television guy who talks about immigration. He says, you know, I don't mind people coming into this country, but sign the guest book. Register. It's not working what we're doing right now, and we need to fix it. And if that means local law enforcement has to step up, I think they're willing to do that. You know, there again too, you got to live within the budget confines right now. You know, this economy is got law enforcement in a bad way. But to paraphrase, yes, I'd support.
Okay. Will you support and implement the use of E-Verify for all hiring in the Sheriff's Department?
I don't have a problem with that. I can't see where that would hurt at all. All you're doing is asking them to verify. You know, typically, we're going to ask for that anyway. We're going to ask for birth certificate. You know, I think it's already being done without E-Verify. It's pretty strict to get hired into that agency. So I don't see a problem with that.
Tell us your commitment to cutting the Sheriff's Office budget even more and postponing new capital expenditures in buildings and projects such as the Central Communications Center at $70 million out of Penny for Pinellas money.
Boy, there's a lot to talk about there in 2 minutes. But look at this. The budget back in the year 2000 for the Sheriff's Office was $146 million. Pretty significant. It was the last 4 years of Everett Rice, the next 4 years of Jim Coates, up to 2008. The budget nearly doubled. It was $288 million at that time. And what happened was we rode the property values coming up, tax base coming up. We weren't raising taxes. They were just living off the inflation, the housing bubble. They lived off that. And in 2008, when that hit, that housing subprime crisis hit and tanked the housing market, we had thousands upon thousands of foreclosures. The housing, you know, it righted itself. They went from houses that were selling for $700,000 to what they should have been selling, which is right around $3. But of course, ad valorem taxes just completely fell. So the county commission and the county commission and the county administrator, they were faced with a situation in 2008 where they didn't have the money. So they had two options: raise taxes or cut spending. Well, the voters had a bigger say, and they said, we're not going to pay any more taxes. We're in a bad way too right now because of this economy. So the mandate was sent down from the BCC and the county administrator: cut your budgets. And the early numbers were fairly significant, but they said cut money. We have people nowadays that take credit for being fiscal conservatives. And they say, you know, we cut $100 million on 600 positions. Well, you're not a fiscal conservative when you cut because the county commission said the money's not there, you got to cut. You're a fiscal conservative when you're being prudent with the money before the cut, when you're spending wisely. And I'll tell you right now, I was there and I was a part of it. We lived high in the hog between 2000 and 2008. We were adding deputies, divisions, people, personnel, spent a lot of money. You saw what happened, $146 million to $288 million. So now we've cut $100 million out. And it's probably back, it's probably righted itself, much like the housing bubble has. But as far as what I'm willing to cut at this point, there's a couple things we need to address. Deputies haven't had a raise in 4 years. We've slashed training budgets. What does that lead to? We've got a workforce that is probably not sharp as they used to be. They're not getting the training they need. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 8, can you tell us what you know about Agenda 21? Oh, excuse me. Well, let's go ahead and do 8, and I'll come back to 7. Thank you, guys. Can you tell us what you know about Agenda 21? In line with this, what actions would you take to protect people and private property?
You know, Agenda 21 I just learned about not too terrible long ago, and I think the first time I heard about it, I said, you know, honestly, I'd never heard of it. And since that time, boy, it scares the heck out of me. You know, the New World Order. Yeah. And there's a familiar tune in that. It's called Distribution of Wealth. Is that what it is? Redistribution of Wealth. And, you know, I read that and it flies in the face of everything I know about being a Republican or being just a good citizen. Global economy, you know, the Green Initiative certainly has value, but not at the expense of you know, this country's got great coal, oil, uranium, natural gas assets, and to ignore that and then send hundreds of billions of dollars to Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, Iraq is an atrocity as far as I'm concerned. We should be developing those. Agenda 21, I absolutely can't support. I understand President Bush had signed off on it. Since that time, Clinton signed an executive order kind of telling us that we need to fall in line with it, which puzzles me. I mean, where's the executive orders I need to read a little bit more about and kind of understand where that can come from that compel us to follow this. I feel strongly against Agenda 21. I just, if I'm not mistaken, was that drafted by a socialist?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that should be the end of it right there. I should have just said that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so UN too. There's another 2-hour topic we could talk about. I think as we all, you know, I know growing up, going to elementary school and junior high school, I was taught, you know, the UN, what a great organization this is. A lot of diplomats should get together. And then you get out in the real world, and you go, this is the most dysfunctional group of people I've ever laid my... It's a bunch of guys trying to beat a parking ticket in New York is what it is. So I've got serious misgivings about the UN, to tell you the truth. But Agenda 21, I'm definitely against.
Good. 7, the Occupy movement has First Amendment rights, but their agenda is escalating, and now hundreds have been arrested. Additionally, police have been injured, property has been destroyed, and there's been infringement on others' rights. What is your view of this movement?
You know, they have every right to peaceably assemble and not protest, but you know, voice their concerns. My problem when it falls over into a situation whereby they're in a park for days, weeks, months, sanitation is bad, it's becoming increasingly agitated. You can say violent is what's happening out in Oakland, California. Who gets blamed? The cops, and it's just absolutely the wrong thing to do. I think they have every right to gather, peaceably assemble, and protest. That's guaranteed by the Constitution. The other thing I get a kick out of was when they you start to talk to them on TV and you see people and they you know, what are you here for? And they haven't a clue why they're there. Those 2 young ladies in Tampa pulled up at the Occupied Tampa, and they pulled up in an Acura with nice clothes on and expensive watches and the phones, smartphones. There to protest the 1%ers, and you shake your head and you go, I would just, you know. So I hope that answered your question. I mean, okay. I respect anyone's ability to take advantage of their right to peaceably assemble and protest, but when it crosses the line, it's to be shut down.
Thank you. Number 9, describe martial law, how it could come about, and if you have considered such a possibility.
Well, you know, it's easy to consider. I mean, look what happened in New Orleans, of course. And then even in the LA riots going back to, what was that, 70s? No. Rodney King?
I was there.
Oh, were you?
92.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 60 miles away when it started. I was caught right in the middle of it, yeah.
So there is a federal act talks about insurrections. You know, it gives authority to the president or the Congress under the Constitution to send troops. A lot of people are under the misgivings that the, you know, posse comitatus says you can't use federal troops to enforce state law. It's not necessarily true. You just have to use the president or the Congress to authorize it. And they did that in New Orleans. They did that in Los Angeles. Could I see that happening if the numbers aren't there? I mean, you look at the sheriff's office, we've lost 100 deputies.